There it is. All right, guys. Welcome back to another episode of The World Can Wait. We're excited to be here on this Tuesday. If you've been keeping up with us, then you know that today we are talking about toxic cultures. We've kind of been talking about cultures for the past couple weeks, but like 2 weeks now, I think. 3 weeks. Yeah. And so this week we kind of just wanted to take some time to highlight toxic cultures in general. Obviously, we can't cover everything. We don't have the time to get into every single one, but we wanted to take a moment to say, these are some of the cultures that we've experienced. These are some of the toxic things that we've seen, that we've lived through. This is how we feel like we should get out of them. So yeah, we got a panel here tonight, and we wanted to get some experiences from you guys, understand what kind of cultures are out there that are toxic, what ways we're hurting people that we love, what ways our workplaces are hurting us, and what we can do about it. So with that, I'm gonna kick it over to Charles, and we're gonna pray and get this thing started.
God, we just thank you for an opportunity to just have some dope conversation. We've been doing it. We're gonna keep doing it with your blessing and your hand over us. Pray that this message would accomplish exactly what it's supposed to, that lives would be changed, that people would get understanding, people would get perspective, and that we would all just leave here learning something new and with growth. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Amen. All right. I guess I'll go ahead and kick off the icebreaker. So our icebreaker is, can everybody state their name and then what their favorite toxic culture is to speak on. So I'll start, I guess. For those of you who, for whatever reason, don't know, I'm Charles, and I think my favorite toxic culture to address is going to have to be toxic Christianity. It's something that's really big for me, especially as a black man. I've seen the way that a lot of black people have been made to feel by a lot of Christians and a lot of churches, and it makes me very uncomfortable. And so I feel like the perversion and the twisting of what the Bible says, as being weaponized towards people, especially any specific group of people, whether it's black people or women or another race, I think that's wicked. So that's my favorite one to address.
So I'm Dom. I think racism is probably my favorite toxic culture to talk about, just because it's something that's so wild to me, something that just doesn't, I can't wrap my head around why it exists, why you would feel any type of way to another person simply because of the way they look. And it's crazy because it wasn't until about 2014 when it really started hitting for me, when I really started understanding what this is and how pertinent it is in like every part of our society. And then just trying to wrap my head around that, like I can't do it. So it's probably the thing I love most to talk about and try to change minds about. Chris, why don't we kick it off to you?
All right. I'm Chris, and I would say the toxic culture that I discuss more often than not is American nationalism. Like just the idea that like we are very high. Yeah, I'm gonna say something that's definitely gonna get me in trouble immediately. So anyway, yeah, I'm not a fan of how America treats itself, simply because of what it says it is versus how it acts. And so, like, as a former member of the military, black man, I walk with Christ, all that plays a massive part in how I view American society. And so I speak on it often around my friends and those who are closest to me. So yeah, I'm excited to talk about it today. So yeah.
Bet. Okay, who wants to go next?
I'll go. My name is Jarday, and I think that my favorite toxic topic to talk about is toxic relationships.
Okay.
I like talking about the toxicity in relationships, how the gender roles, how things used to be and how things are now, basically with modern relationships and stuff like that.
Okay, bet. I'm excited to hear a little bit about that then.
I'm dumb excited.
All right, Walter, what about you?
I can't really hear y'all.
Oh, can you hear us now?
It's a little bit.
Okay, what about you? Favorite toxic culture to talk about?
Right. My name is Walter. Favorite toxic discussion. Ooh. I would have to say either relationships or the whole agenda behind, like black versus white. I definitely don't get along with that whole agenda. So either relationships or race, I say the history that's been told behind it.
Okay, that's definitely an interesting one. The whole idea of me versus you, especially based on race. Yeah, I think this is gonna be a good conversation.
Yeah, I'm sitting here and I'm thinking about what I was saying earlier about how usually I'm more excited for Tuesday, but I'm more excited for Thursday. Everybody starts speaking. I'm like, dang, everybody said so. And so what really caught me off guard was like, and this is why I love having these conversations, because I don't think the way other people think, right? When I'm thinking of toxic cultures and toxic types and things like that, I'm like literally thinking of stuff that begins with toxic. And then Dom's like racist. And I'm like, damn, I guess, yeah, racism is toxic, right? Like it's extra toxic. And then Chris is like, yeah, American nationalism. I'm like, yo, that's extra toxic, right? Especially when you combine it with toxic Christianity, right? You got those Christians who are like, America, like, hold on, ain't you supposed to be like Jesus? But so like, yeah, like my mind is just going, and I'm really excited to hear what everybody's about to say, man. So I'm gonna go ahead and open it up with I guess it's already open. So what are some examples of the toxic situations and environments pertaining to American nationalism, Chris?
Right off the break. Like,
you was ready?
Dude, I'm instantly, I stay hot about this topic, bro. I'm trying to tell you. Like, the idea that you refuse to acknowledge your past in its entirety annoys me, because you want me to do that, right? Like, whenever a black man is shot in the streets, we got to bring up his entire past, but we won't do it for the entire public. So I don't like that, number one. Two, we are a modern day Roman society who, again, because you do not understand your history, refuses to acknowledge that you're just the new Rome. You're just a new empire that has taken over a bunch of nations, told them they're allowed to stay who they are as long as they keep paying taxes to you. You even use the same religious icons. You put an eagle up and then call it freedom. Come on now. I'm a Christian. I'm not going to sit here and play your game of idolatry. I'm not going to place my hand on my heart and pledge allegiance to your flag. I'm not going to do any of that. You can get mad all you want, but I'm kingdom. So deal with it. But that's what happens to most Christians in America. They are infected with the nationalism. And so that becomes what they call Christianity. So like, that's really been my biggest issue with American nationalism, is that it has done a number on actual Christianity, not Christianity in its religious form, but in its true definition, which means like to be like Christ, or one who is like Christ, or little Christ, however whatever your interpretation of it is. That's been a big issue. I found after having served, like while I was serving, man, I'm all here for it, right? Like we're there, you're really bought in a way, whether you're there for college, to get them to pay for college, or you're there because you didn't have another option, or you're there for whatever reason. I mean, you buy in, like either you feel like, man, I could be doing worse, or I can really take care of my family with this. I'm serving my country, yada, yada, yada. And then you find yourself in a conflict or a situation that you morally don't agree with, but you're legally bound to handle. And so now I have to chip away at my moral foundation as a man, regardless of how I personally feel about this situation. You are forcing me now to go because I made the decision that I was going to let you make decisions for me. So once I got out, and you know, you walk around as a civilian for a little bit, and you start seeing it from the objective viewpoint of, oh, I'm one of the civilians now, and to see them speak, and then to see the military operate, and then you know, all of that. There was a lot of hero worship. Like I realized that a lot of people were nice to me because I was a soldier, not because they know me from Adam. Like they were literally just, oh, you served? Oh, okay. Well, man, here's a drink and da 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 da. And man, you guys are heroes. And I'm like, yo, you have no idea what I did in the military at all, bro. Like at all. You have zero idea. I could have been, you know, like trust me, most of us are janitors first, and then we have an MOS. Like we're, you know what I mean? Like so, it is what it is. Like, but like. Yeah, American nationalism has made it where, yo, you cannot speak ill of this country from which we supposedly have freedom of speech. You can, but you're going to be socially ostracized by a certain group of people, or you're going to be viewed by, and this is the one you really don't want. You don't want the government actually viewing you as a threat simply because you don't agree with them. You don't want that problem. Like nobody wants that problem. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But they like you're almost pinned into it, you know.
Yeah, that's funny.
Another issue with American nationalism is that it don't. Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No. I was just saying that was funny. You was talking about the how much you're a janitor first.
Yeah. No, you clean more than anything. But the worst, like I would say, the very worst. You do. The very worst thing to me, and this is really just because God is first for me. The false idea that America is a Christian nation. First of all, it was never, ever, ever, ever a Christian nation. In the Treaty of Tripoli, you can check it out for everybody who's a history buff. Y'all can go ahead and look at the Treaty of Tripoli that we signed way back when we first started as a country. I want to say it's Article 11 in there, specifically says we're not a Christian country. So like that, to act like we are is so annoying, because what you've done is you've made Christianity about McDonald's, hamburgers, and the American way. And like the reality is that's not Jesus. You slapped "In God We Trust" on our money in the 50s because you wanted to separate us from the communist, atheistic Soviet Union. Not because you truly believe in God. So like that bothers me. I know the truth. Like I can read. You're not fitting to confuse me when I can read. Like, you know, so you can't tell me, like you can't lie. Everybody, like when I bring up the facts that I hold it in front of you, you just deny your history. I don't like that. That's my biggest issue with rant. Almost over. So I'm done. But I know I'm a rant later.
Yeah. It's so funny, like everything that you like the McDonald's, the hamburgers, and the American dream, and like dog. So we did a military week a couple weeks ago, and one of the questions that we had was like, what's something that you didn't expect to experience in the military? And it was crazy how much like cleaning so much, like all the time. Like that's just what people said. And I brought up, I don't know if y'all did this, and I'm not trying to turn this into a military show, but dog, we used to like be on top of the ship sweeping water in the rain. Like it's like I know the memes go around, and I know people are like, "That's not real." No, it's real. That's sweeping water in the rain.
That's wild to me.
Like, but you go next. One of them go next.
No, I remember being told to scrub the black parking lot.
So you just doing stuff just to be doing stuff. Man, but you came out here spitting though. You rattled the game.
I was told to get the guy told to get the stale air out of a refrigerator once. Oh, I'm really that for you?
You kind of frozen. I mean, well, no, you're frozen. Can't hear you. Well, we can kind of hear you. While he's getting himself together, Walter, you go ahead and kind of tell us some of the examples of the what did you say? You said
he said black versus white.
The black, yeah.
That whole I don't like to use the word race, but just to keep it simple and keep moving. The whole race bait, that whole agenda, and then me and my brother Black Black, we talk about it all the time about relationships and like gender roles and chivalry, all those ideas and things. So I think let me where to start. Okay, with the whole relationship thing, I think and I can tie this into a whole lot, but just as far as gender roles and that type of ideology, I just throw them all together. I think a lot of people nowadays are so caught up in the idea or the image or the concept of something rather than what it is. So like with ideas like chivalry, or you got things like gender roles, I think it's toxic, and it don't help nobody involved or us as a people grow. Where like as a man, you're supposed to do X, Y, Z, and it ain't no question about it. So my question is just like, okay, where did it come from, and how do we as men, one, or how do we two as a people continue to grow from there? Because you can't grow, I mean progress, like use this to propel and learn a few things about yourself or other people or as a society and make better. Like if you're not doing better, then you're doing worse. So if we're not moving forward and progressing, then we moving backwards, and we losing a lot more than what we have gained from the jump. So that's one thing I think. Just people have this idea, image of what a relationship or what a man or what a woman should have, rather than like, hey, I bring this to the front, and you go from there as an individual, rather than just generalizing everybody. That's all I'm saying about that, because I'll be on here for years talking about that. And then the race thing, like, see, so I'm mixed, and I absolutely hate to refer to anybody as a color. So I'm not, but I don't like to the whole black and white thing. And I say, as an Aboriginal man, we've been taught from I'm 30, as long as I can remember, we've been taught or told or brainwashed or manipulated into believing that we black, we colored, we certain other words, we African Americans, we mulattoes, we everything but what we are. And the true history starts with all indigenous, well, not all, but the true history of the world starts with indigenous people. And us over here was here before we was discovered by Columbus or whoever the hell else they want to say discovered this place. So I don't really dig that. And I find that's an issue with everybody saying, like with the whole black thing, none of these terms or these labels was something that we decided to give for ourselves or create for ourselves, like right. Black, colored, person of color, mulatto. We didn't come up with those. So that was given upon us. And then throughout lack of information, even better, with the lack of wanting to find information or knowledge, people was just like, all right, let's take it and let's just run with it. Not everybody black, not everybody certain words, and that's just where it been since, like I said, as long as I can remember. And ain't nobody on a grand scale had the fortitude to challenge that or question that. So that's where I find myself when I talk to certain people, oh, well, I'm African. No, you ain't. Oh, well, what tribe you from? I've been to Africa. You're not, and I find myself in those conversations a lot, especially lately, with all, the climate of the world nowadays. I digress. I'm not finna get started because
no, that's what we about. That's what we about.
No, we got everybody started. Like, all right, I'm done.
I love it though.
Yeah,
I wanted to say though, because when you was talking about gender roles, I feel that a lot, especially now. Because I got diagnosed with MS in 2015, I think it was. And it wasn't bad then, but as the years have gone on, it's gotten like progressively worse and worse to the point where I'm at now. It's a lot of stuff that I can't do that I used to do, just right. Like around the house type stuff. And so for me, I'm like it on one hand, it sucks because like I can't do those things I used to do. But what sucks more is this idea that like I'm the husband. I'm supposed to be doing this, and that, and I can't do it. Now my wife has to do it. And it like if my wife carries something big down the stairs, it burns me inside just right. Knowing that she has to do that and I can't do that because I'm the man. I'm supposed to do that kind of stuff. But when you think about it, it's like my wife can do it. She does it just fine.
Facts.
She do a lot of stuff just fine that I'm supposed to be the one that does it. So where does this idea come from, and why does it hurt me so much
Yeah.
that she's the one doing it? And it's wild because like where does it come from? This whole idea of chivalry and you can't do this, only I can do this, and now I'm physically hurting because I can't do it. So that's definitely toxic from experience.
It is, and one of the things that I've found, like with certain people who know too much or just some things about you, they will use what they know and weaponize it. Like so, like as far as like the gender roles and stuff that you're talking about, most of the stuff that the man is supposed to do ain't what I do, and I don't know if I've always been good with it, but I know at least since me and my wife have been married, I've been good with it. So like I cut the grass, but that's not on some I'm the man, I'm gonna cut the grass. It's just sometimes I'll cut it, sometimes she'll cut it. But
Right.
like if we find like a bug or a snake or something, Shawty, I need you to handle that. Like that's not my lane. She grew up in Utah on a ranch with like snakes and lizards and scorpions, and she know what to do. When them things come around me, like I'm a whole different person. So I'm gone. And I'm cool with that. And then like with cooking,
Mice.
I mostly do the cooking. You know what I mean? Like for the most part. In fact, I taught her how to cook. And I'm fine with cooking. I love cooking, and ain't nobody finna tell me, oh well, women are supposed to be cooking. And it's so funny because maybe 2 months ago, I reached out to Dom and I sent him a message and I was like, man, I wonder how many young boys didn't grow up to become like fashion designers because somebody told them boys don't do that. You know what I mean? Meanwhile, millions of dollars out here to be made in fashion. Billions. I mean, you know what I mean? So it's like there, like you said, it's not helping anybody. It's hurting. Trying to train people to think that because you are black or white or a man or a woman or whatever, you're supposed to be this way. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like and it's very toxic. But we on you now, Jardé, and if the theme keeps up, then you about to go on a little rant too on some toxic situations,
Yeah.
relationships.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So mine was on relationship too. You guys can hear me well right now.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Okay. So it just to touch on a little bit of what my bro Light Black said. I'm Black. He calls me Black. I call him Light Black. So to touch on what he said a little bit is like my thing with toxic relationships is it is the gender roles, and then it's also the thought that there's a cookie cutter set way that every relationship is supposed to go. There are tons of people out here who are married and they are comfortable in their roles and everything like that. And you'll have people who come from outside of your marriage or inside or your family members will come in and say, why are you doing that for them? They're this, they should be doing this. You know what I'm saying? As if there's something wrong with the structure and integrity of your marriage. A marriage, to me, it is loosely based on love, but it's mostly based on a business transaction and a proposition or a deal, in which you tell your person, I'm going to provide this for you. And in return, you're providing this for me. And once you guys come to that, and that could be anything, you know what I'm saying? That could be anything. Like for me, like I'm a provider. I'm a provider. I can fix things. That's my thing. So for me and my fiance, I tell her like, yo, I'm gonna make sure that your living is good. I'm gonna make sure that your money is good. I'm gonna make sure everything is good. All I want for you to do is make sure my house is good. I can cook for you. I can clean. We can clean together. We can do this. But I just want to make sure that when I come home, since you don't have to work, you don't have to do anything. I just want my house good. That's all. And we're good with that. But there's a lot of people that come from outside of the relationship who will say stuff like, well, why are you cleaning the house for him? He has 2 feet. He has 2 hands. He could clean himself. He has this. He could do that. He could do this. He could do that. And them kind of people that get into like people's ears and stuff like that tend to make an unrealistic standard for people in a relationship or in a marriage in general. There's not a cookie cutter way to love. There's not a cookie cutter way to be married. There's not a cookie cutter way to have a relationship. Everybody's relationship is different. Everybody's marriage is different. Everybody's lifestyle is different. And I feel like it's toxic to think that because, and it's just like what you guys were saying before, it's toxic to think that just because I am the man in the house, I should be the one like lifting up all the heavy things and everything like that. If it's a 15-pound box and she has all the capability to do it, and I'm doing something at the moment, she can take that 15-pound box up the stairs. It don't have to sit for me to do it because I'm the man. You know what I'm saying? I can cook.
We losing you, brother.
7 years old.
Somebody got to grab a screenshot of it.
She wanted me to learn how to cook because she didn't want me to depend on a woman. One thing I love to do is
You're still coming through.
Yeah,
If somebody
too.
If somebody,
oh, you just gonna come back like nothing happens?
oh, I was trying to. I can hear you.
Oh, yeah, that Mississippi ain't playing.
Yeah, no, they doing you dirty down there, bro.
Yeah,
You gotta start a GoFundMe, bro.
yeah. I don't even know what to suggest or recommend. Like that's just yikes.
I agree with him though.
Yeah, no, from what we already said, he was definitely spitting though.
That's, like he touched on something that like my lady and I say all the time, and it's like we didn't do expectations, we did exploration. Where we were like, why would I put expectations on you when I would rather explore what you got going on and see if you're suitable to me? Because like that's what it is for us. It's about suitability. Like, do you cook? Well, I clean. Do you do this? Well, I do that. You know, like, yeah, we're like, yeah, you want somebody who, you know, that you, like you said, that you love and everything, but also love isn't enough. And it's definitely shouldn't be the basis of a relationship, because like the reality is the foundation of that relationship has to be something bigger than y'all.
Yeah.
If it's not, you're beat.
Yeah, and then as far as like the whole love not being enough thing, it's like if I wanted to focus my effort, energy, attention, and time, I could love whoever I wanted to love. So how could that ever be enough?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah. Ain't that
People
the
don't think
truth?
love is, they think love is an emotion. And so like they're really just basing it off of how they feel.
It's not.
And then all of
It's
a sudden you're
decision.
married and you're 5 years in, and it's like, oh, I don't like you. And you're like, yeah, you don't like them now. Now what? Like, now what? Are you gonna leave? Like, y'all can't. Y'all can't.
Right.
But I don't like you, right? Like, and that's real. Like, yo, my lady and I talk all the time. Where she goes, you know, and we've been together for over a year now, getting married next year, all this cool stuff. And she literally said to me, she was like, now we're celibate. So like, I know this is gonna sound wild if I just said it without putting that part in. We're celibate for now. We're just waiting till marriage. And she said to
Just
me,
so we're
she was
clear,
like,
we
"Hey,
get married.
I'm getting some as soon as I'm married, y'all. I can't wait.
Nah, bro.
But like, I don't got no problem with that. Like, marriage bed is not defiled, sir. Anyways, so so she was like, yo, I just became like sexually attracted to you like a couple months ago. And I was like, facts. Like, we just found out that each other were fine. We've been rocking off of like enjoying each other, just personality wise. Like, yo, you're dope. You're dope. You're my best friend. You're my best friend. Let's rock. Like, let's kick it together. Let's do all this cool stuff. As far as, you know, gender roles or whatever, or what have you, I'm with bro on this one. Like, I cook. She cooks. Now what? Right? Like,
right.
but I like to cook. So I'd have to be like Chuck and say like, oh, I got to convince you not to cook. Or I'd have to be like Jardé and be like, you know, she can take the box up steps because she can. So it, you know, it's, you know what I'm saying? It's just suitability.
Bringing balance to that relationship that you're in with that other person, and not all these other people who want to add their 2 cents. And it's like, it's one thing if like, I'm like, yo, me and my lady's dealing with this. Have you been in a situation? What's your opinion? It's another thing to just see how me and her are functioning and be like, yo, that's not how me and my girl get down. You should try this. Like, your relationship is some boo-boo, dog. Stay away from me.
we good over here.
Yeah.
And roles can change too is the thing. Like, you And that's why don't be in nobody else's business. That's toxic in and of itself. Because you don't know what we got going on over here. You don't know if a role has changed. You don't know why a role has changed, why expectation has changed, whatever. So yeah, stay out of my relationship. Don't worry about what I got. We good.
Can you guys hear me now?
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
sir.
you good. Man, relocate.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, Drake, confusing. I changed location.
My fault.
You good.
One thing I typically see in marriages, regular, everyday modern relationships is once you get into a marriage standpoint, the gender roles start to disappear and it becomes more of a partnership. And that's something that I was gonna keep talking about before I cut out. The gender roles in a marriage or a gender role in long-term committed relationship starts to disappear. You stop thinking stuff like, yo, I'm the man, I should be doing this. I'm the man, I should be doing that. Or I'm the woman, I should be doing this, that, and the third. And it gets to be more of, well, do you need me to do something? Or do you need me to? And it's something that I noticed in more successful marriages and more successful relationships that once you guys get together and y'all have that agreement, that partnership, that standard where you guys are together, you're solid, you're a unit, then it lasts longer and it lasts stronger. And the thing I say about those outside people is that those outside people, and I mean, I hate to say it, and generalize it, they're typically single. They're typically single and they're typically telling you that, you should do it like this based off of a relationship that they do not have.
Correct.
You should do this. You should do that. Yeah, yes. They're like, yo, if it was me, I would do it like this. And you're looking at them like, well, you don't have a person.
Correct.
So obviously it's not working. It can't work.
My favorite is when oh no, I thought you was finished. Go ahead.
Oh no, go ahead.
No, I'm saying one of my favorites is when people who are once, twice, 3 times divorced and love to tell you, but yo, this is how you should function in your marriage. I love you and you're cool peoples, but I think you're not the one for this type of advice right now. You can talk to me about credit, maybe, but this.
Hey, they say, hey, I'm good at it. I've been married about 4 times. I'm good at it.
So kind of touching on that. The next question or next topic that we wanted to bring up is the idea that if you're a person that displays any of these kind of toxic traits, anything that we've touched on, you're kind of labeled in and of yourself as a toxic person. You have all these negative traits. You are toxic. But personally, I feel like that's not always the correct way to go about it or to categorize people. You may have this toxic thing that you buy into. You may, for whatever reason, you've learned this thing, and so you put that thing out there, and it happens to be a toxic thing. How do we get away from calling people into themselves toxic and just attacking the self, bumping them? Look, it was ready. How do we get away from that and go into attacking that toxic trait or that toxic situation itself and not the person behind it?
Before either one of y'all want to go, I want to say I definitely appreciate having y'all as guests. It seems like every time the conversation is switched in any way, it's something that y'all are just ready to speak on. Because clearly y'all are having these conversations, which is dope, and that's what we're all about. Go ahead.
I'm a real big person on principle, right? And I think the principle of the question is, or like a solution to that issue would be, it like the same thing. Most of us are military, right? So when I was raised Army, so I joined the deep water, the blue sea, whatever. But when you go in, you go in there prepared, like it's 90% mental and only 10% physical, And to me, I take that more times than a little bit, wherever I go. So I look at it like it starts mental. Like you have to want to do it prior to making that commitment to actually doing it, So I think that's where it's just as an individual, one, it's like the same thing with any problem. One, you got to go in there and acknowledge, okay, hey, this is an issue. And then 2, you have to be like, all right, well, is it with me? Is it them or whatever? I tend to look at myself first and foremost, But and at first, first you acknowledge the problem, you acknowledge, where it comes from, the source, and then you attack the source, and then you go from there. And once you find out, what the benefit is, or how you can gain, or how you can change it from there on, then that starts to become your habits, like muscle memory type things. Once you start working out, say the first time you do 10 push-ups, the next week you do 20, 10 wasn't so bad no more, next month now you're doing 50 push-ups. At first 50 seemed impossible. So it just starts to become the new norm as it was, or that becomes your muscle memory to where you done discipline yourself till you done got there. But it starts, I think, initially you have to want to look for it. You can do it all the live long day, but if it's not your passion, not something you look to change, you can change, but it's always temporary. That's how you fall back on them bad habits, So I think you have to want it first and foremost.
I say to get away from calling the people toxic or to end the toxic, calling the people toxic, in the cycle of it, I label it the cycle. Excuse me, I'm all over. I call it the circle of bitterness. That's what I started calling it recently. And one thing I say about it is that, okay, to give on to my example, when you were younger, you were taught when you wake up, there's some things you got to do. You use the bathroom, you brush your teeth, you wash your face, you start your day. So even into your adulthood, every morning when you wake up, you do these 3 things every morning. So I feel like these toxic traits are taught to us at a very young age. And we keep getting taught it, and we keep getting taught it, and we keep getting taught it until we're older and we're into our adulthood, and we no longer know that these are toxic behaviors. We don't know that these are things that, could be viewed as toxic or wrong. It's just something that we've always known all our life. And I think the way to come away from it is to try to educate people, children, and just people in general who are our future against certain toxic behaviors, to be more accepting, knowledgeable about what they're doing and everything. Because if you have a little boy and you're telling him all his life that, being a fashion designer can be viewed as homosexual or anything like that, when he grows up, he's going to view dressing nice as a sign of homosexuality, just based off of something that you told him when he was a child. And it's not even, you never said to him that dressing nice is homosexual. But when you told him being a fashion designer, well, he said, okay, if I'm a fashion designer, I'm being viewed as homosexual. Well, they dress nice. Well, people around them dress nice. So that means they must be too. Now, if I act as if they're going to think that now I shouldn't dress this way, or I shouldn't look this way, because I'm going to be viewed as something that I don't want to be viewed as in a negative way. So I feel like the best way to come away from these toxic behaviors is to educate ourselves and to come back out of ourselves against our old ways and learn and listen from one another.
Yo, it's it's so funny you say that, and I don't remember exactly what was said to me, but I remember growing up my whole life thinking one of my uncles was gay because of how nice he used to dress, or at least what I considered nice, and then with all the colors that he had, right? And I remember a couple years ago, like there was just this big conversation, and it kind of, I think maybe it turned into like an altercation of some sort, like just argument, whatever. And I'm like, dog, I used to think that you were gay up until like 5 years ago. And he's like, why did you think I was gay? I'm like, bro, because you used to stay wearing purple and yellow and pink and lime green, and like dudes ain't supposed to do that. And that's what I thought. Dudes ain't supposed to do that. And then I grow up and it's like, nah, dudes is doing that. Like,
Yeah.
I think that's a testament, bro, to like another toxic culture that we haven't brought up, which is like identity culture.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Like, well, Walter brought it up. I ain't gonna hold you, bro. You brought it up. You said it, like you don't like the idea of assigning a race to somebody, and it's crazy because like I'm half black, half white, and I actually enjoy keeping it as an identity, not in a sense that's like, oh, I gotta be one or the other or anything like that. I like using it because I am both. because I'm both. I get to claim one thing, but also everything. And so like, you can't beat me in an argument or conversation about one race over another. Like you can't. Like, what you going to, like, I'm both. Like literally, I'm the abomination that literally the United States didn't want to happen. Like there's nothing they can say to me. You know what I mean? So like, I love that, but that's because I take it like, you wanted it to be, you know, like what you intended for evil, God meant for good kind of a thing. But the identity issue or culture is so bad to the point where like, bro, I firmly believe this. And again, I got no issue with anybody and their relationships, but I firmly believe that, you know, our LGBTQ community is going through so much of what they're going through because they've been convinced that they should call themselves based out of their sexuality, which is no different than calling yourself based out of your race. So it's like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, but
like it's an identity issue problem. It's always been an identity issue problem because now if I say that, like, let's say, you know, toxic Christianity. Now, if I say that homosexuality is bad, what I'm saying to anybody who identifies as homosexual is that like now your entire identity is an abomination. Like, and that's not the truth. The reality
I got a question
is,
for you when you get a second. Man. Okay. Because I've thought about that a lot. And one of the places that I get stuck on, not like I don't end my thought here, but I get stuck. It's so the LGBTQ, every other letter. When there, you know, there's the movements. And look, don't do that. Don't do that. Y'all look, you did it. I did it. That was on I did it. You're right.
I held my face together because I wasn't.
But then I saw Jardine, and then I saw Walter, and then it was over. Right? So
I'm sorry.
I apologize.
I'm sorry.
Okay, so there's a bunch of different groups of people who have different movements, right? And it's like Black Lives Matter, or I mean, I'm sure they have like the gay rights and all that other stuff. If as a black person, or as a gay person, or as a Christian person, or a Muslim person, I'm being persecuted, ostracized, marginalized, or just left out from whatever because of this particular aspect. Whether it's something that I can control or not, you know, race or gender, sexuality, all that stuff. How else do we push the conversation forward on, hey, just because I'm this way, don't treat me that way if we don't label it? And I'm not saying that I'm pro labels because I ultimately don't really care for them either, but I understand their usefulness, I guess, is a way to say it.
So I wouldn't say that like you
next.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Both of y'all, either one, don't matter.
Okay, I just want to before you. My thing about it is, okay, before I joined the military, I was always told that homosexuality was weird. It was not normal. It was this. Don't be it. Don't be that. I joined the military, and I met this guy. His name was Flo. Let's just call him Flo for short. And me and Flo was great friends. You know what I'm saying? He helped me with work. He taught me a lot of things. A bill passed called "Don't Ask, Don't Tell," which means in the military they were allowed to be homosexual in the military now. Because before that they weren't. They had to, if they were homosexual, they had to pretend that they weren't. Well, after that bill passed, he just came out in front of everybody. Didn't care. Told everybody what he was. Didn't care. I did not know he was gay. And I would have never known, and I didn't know it from a cup of water or something like that. Mm-hmm. But all I knew was that Flo was my good friend.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? I knew Flo was somebody that I cared about. I knew Flo was somebody that I worked with. Flo was somebody I was really, really close to. But now, and that fact didn't change when he became gay. It changed my whole. Well, he was gay before, but when I found out he was gay, and that changed my whole perspective on it, because at that point in time, I'm thinking like, well, that was none of my business.
So that's actually where I was going with it. Like, not to cut your business, bro, but that's literally where I was headed.
Yeah.
Like, I feel you are. So here's how I feel about it. And to be honest with you, this is from my perspective in my beliefs, like in my faith in Christ, me personally, my relationship with him. Here is my beliefs on it. First of all, it's crazy, but I wasn't as caring, loving, and concerned about the LGBTQ community or any really of the causes that I'm here for, like whether it's BLM, whether it's, you know, the discussion of God with others, whether it's, it doesn't matter. I'm much more caring simply because I have him in my life. So what happened was I took the time to then sit there and like really consider how I felt about certain social issues. This one was a big one simply because I happen to live in a city where like it's very prevalent. So, you know, it's just like most people, or it's just whatever, and like everybody's cool with it in this area. And so what's interesting was I found out that like, I think a lot of what they face as far as like an issue, and we're talking about like the labeling again, is this is different than like the Black civil rights issue, right? Like this is completely different. And I think it gets kind of equated. And so the reason it's different is because I don't run around in the street saying I'm missionary or I'm doggy style, because it's not business, right? So I'm not, it's more than just who I'm attracted to. Like, it has nothing to do with who I'm attracted to for me to say that. Like I can very much so just walk up to whoever I'm attracted to and kindle a relationship with them. It's and if I were to identify myself off the fact that I'm straight, that would be weird. Like if I just walk around all day being like, I'm straight, that's weird. That's weird to me, bro. Like, okay, great. High five. Like that's weird to me. So it's different when literally my outward appearance is telling the story, right? That's the race issue, right? That's completely different. Not because, but I get it. Both people were born that way. That's not the discussion though. What my discussion is the fact that this one's readily noticeable and this one you have to self-identify. And so because of that, these are not the same issue to me. Now that's my personal opinion and view on it. Is that the right one? I don't know yet. I need to talk to more people, honestly, to either further expand my view or understand that that's a foundation I'm willing to just have.
I see you, Walter. Can I ask him a follow-up question, though? Real quick? Because I just want to get some clarity. So what you're saying is that as far as the identity issue that you were talking about as it pertains to the LGBTQ community, that it's less about the way that outsiders view them and more about the fact that they feel it necessary to constantly tell people what they are and then be accepted on that basis.
Exactly. It's no different than what Walter was talking about when you got Black people out here who want to be so evidently Black that like everything becomes about that. And like, yo, I've even caught myself doing it, but I'm also much lighter and also half. So like my racial ambiguity, you know, whenever I support, because, yo, I've been supporting Black causes since forever. I'm Black. So like now that it's cool, people are just accepting of it. But back when I was doing it, back when I was younger, and people were like, you're only half Black. Like for some reason, I guess being only half Black mattered, right? Like that meant that like I couldn't be down for the cause, right? Yeah. Like apparently that was the perception that people tried to put on me.
Gatekeepers.
So, right, you're gatekeeping. And so that I feel like, yo, you want me to support your cause, and I do, but you're gatekeeping because you're saying that, well, if you don't feel like any of these, then you're not one of us. And y'all are all about how like, yo, everybody can feel however they particularly feel. So why, like, again, I love it. Like I'm here for it because, yo, I'm down to start the conversation.
Yeah.
Right. Like I'm not going to sit here and condemn you for something that I don't do. Like that doesn't make sense. I have other sins. Trust me, I promise you. Like the fact that, you know, to me, again, it's not about the act. It's about the fact that like, yo, sexual immorality is sexual immorality. Like, again, that's why I'm not having sex with my fiance before we get married, because that's my beliefs. That has nothing to do with how you love somebody or even who you love. To me, the sin is sex before marriage. Why? Because God says so. Why? I can tell you all about that, but that's a way longer conversation that you'd have to actually sit down and have with me. Yeah. And so that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm cool with open dialogue simply to just have the conversation, because it's like, yo, I'm down for everything that you're saying. The equality, yo, you feel a certain way. You may, you know, like, yo, there is no male nor female in Christ Jesus. So to tell me that you feel like 3 different genders, 5 different genders is not weird to me as a Christian. As a matter of fact, it's biblical, but nobody wants to say that. That's the problem. That's
I wanna have that
Christianity that's causing a lot of that issue
I did
too.
on Thursday.
Mhm.
Might gotta bring Chris on Thursday too.
Yeah, but it's
Hold on, we gotta get
that's
Walter been patiently
Hey,
waiting.
yo, my bad, y'all. My bad.
no, you good, you good. I was
Chris was about to go with another sermon. Don was like, go ahead, Walter. You had something you wanted to say?
It was something in particular you said, but I can't really call it. The only thing I was gonna say, just to add my 2 pennies off that, that's what the whole identity thing in itself, and I think that's the issue. Like the core root of it all. Like when I find, like, I got a few gay friends here and there, male, female, talked about them. I talk to any and everybody. As long as you open the door, I don't like closed-mindedness. So my thing is, and I definitely, I don't care. Anybody can think I'm weird to this day. I really don't care. I don't believe in right or wrong. Like if you want to put your right shoe on before your left, and I do vice versa, you're not wrong or no righter than me. That's just how I operate. So I think people have, like with the identity thing, people focus more on the identity rather than themselves. Like, so it becomes an issue, not to me as like an attack, like an insult, or I'm taking offense to it. But I look at it like, okay, now you focusing on the label or the identity that you want me to take on or accept or be comfortable with, rather than just being like, before you're an alphabet, whatever, before before you're Muslim, or even after, whatever. When all is said and done, you still a man or a woman or a child or whatever. So you got something to bring to the table regardless, But so many people, and that's the agenda I was talking about earlier, the agenda or narrative behind it is always pushing like, hey, I'm this. Like you said, you can't get up in the rising and be like, I'm black today. Or, color. I don't refer to people as color, but keep it simple. You can't just get up, put your drawers on, and be like, you know what, today's a good day to be white. You can't wake up or go to bed that way. That's just how it happens, So you got people out there that wanna throw this sign up and be, hoorah about this, or wear this shirt, or have this tattooed on them, and then forget about, like, hey, before this and after this, I'm still finna bleed red. I'm still finna go out there. I eat my food the same way. I still require oxygen, water, and 8 counts to live and survive. So the whole push is like, hey, let me be this, rather than, hey, I'm a man first, so you a man, I can speak to you, or like, hey, I'm a woman first, so I can speak to you about womanly things or whatever, or things of that nature. It's always, you have to look through it. You have to look at the situation from a scope, rather than taking in the entire, oh, okay, I dig what you're saying, where you come from. Like, man to man, we can hold a chit chat about whatever, rather than, hey, oh, I relate to you on this aspect, and only that, let's go from there. No, let's build a bridge, and then we can talk about whatever. It don't have to be on just like, oh, I was in the Navy. You were too, me too. And we go from there. Hey, I'm a man, bro. I done got.
That's the issue, bro. Like, what happens is, like, okay, that's why, like, with me, again, personally, that's why I chose Christ and he chose me, because I use him to get identity. Like, not because I go, oh, I'm Christian, but because I say I'm righteous. I can say things that, right? I get to say certain things. I didn't say I'm Christian. I said I'm righteous. I'm loved. I'm protected. I'm blessed. I'm a lot of things. But those are my identity. What happens is, if I attach my identity to a label, I'm whatever that label is defined as.
Right.
You're beat. No matter what you want, you're beat. You can't win, because now whoever's defining the terms is defining the terms. Right. That's what we call objective truth. Like, either you have truth or you don't. So it's like, you can't just say, like, there's a difference between truth and facts, and everybody needs to just acknowledge that.
That's true. The thing, the reason why I stay away from labels is because I'm not really interested. I'm really not interested in labels, but like my brother Light was kind of saying, is like, I'm more interested in what you can bring, the content of your character, where your mind's at. If I'm having a conversation with you, if you tell me I'm gay before the conversation, you might as well have told me the sky was blue or the grass was green. That has nothing to do with what we're about to talk about
at all.
That has no. You tell me you're this, that, and the third. It has nothing to do with what we're about to talk about. You can tell me like you're a Christian or whatnot, and to me, that was still, even then, that would still have nothing to do with what we're going to talk about. until we have the conversation, and you start telling me your views and your perspectives on certain things, and I'm like, okay, so this is how you think. This is how you think. Okay, I feel like the best way to learn things are arguments, conversations, discussions. So if I'm sitting here hung up on labels and stuff like that, I'm gonna miss half of what you're saying because I'm too busy judging you on your label.
Facts.
That's facts, because you just put words to something I feel, but I've never really put words to, because I don't tell people I'm Christian anymore. I just talk. I just talk to people and I let who I am come out. And people will say, "Are you Christian?" And things like that. And because they pick it up based on who I am as a person and what I come out. But if I were to come to you and say, "Oh, I'm a Christian," automatically, like Chris said, whatever that label is what you are to them. And living in America today, that's not a great label. So as soon as I say that, you think everything, this, that, and the third, all these terrible things about me, and now you've already judged me before you've heard a single word that comes out of my mouth. And it's wild to me because as far as the LGBTQ community, I've thought about it. I feel kind of both ways about it, because I looked at it as, I've had to hide who I was for so many years in this country, and now it's starting to be safe for me to be myself publicly. So I can see this idea of, okay, well, I want to be myself as loud as I possibly can because I wasn't able to do that way back when. But now I can also see, okay, I told you who I am, and now you're judging me because I told you who I am. I told you how I feel about this, that, and the third, and now you're judging me because of that. And now you're discriminating against me because I told you that. But if I didn't tell you that, I wonder if our relationship would have been like Jardays and Flows.
Let's see. It brings up a very interesting question too, because am I gay? Like, is that who I am? That's the question that it brings up when you say I want to live out like, and that's not. It's like, because I was thinking about something the other day. My wife was talking about like foolishness and wisdom and whatnot, and I filtered it through scripture and all that other stuff. And I came to that point. I think you saw the post, Chris, where it's like, and maybe I didn't make a post where it's like, he chose the foolishness of the world to confound the wise. And I was thinking about how like people are so busy trying to be like the wisest, smartest person ever that they like that's their identity rather than just acquiring wisdom. You know what I mean? And so it's like, are as a person, is gay who you are? And I think that most of them would probably say like, no, like that's not like my identity. I identify, and it's so weird because it's like I identify as gay, but that's not all there is to me. That's not who I am as a person.
Don't do that. So Then guess what happens when you don't do that? Then you can literally walk into wherever you want to, and no one will condemn you.
No. If you just like, it's just like me and my friend's relationship. It's like he was a great athlete. He was a gamer. He was a smart person. We both were into animes and TV shows and stuff like that. And then he happened to be gay, and it was just like, oh. At this point, when I found out, it was like, oh, cool. Hey, so what about this TV show? You know what I mean? It was like, oh, nice, I guess. Thanks for telling me. But what's up with these TV shows we were just talking about yesterday? Did you see this episode? Did you see this episode? It didn't change the fact that I cared about him as a person,
right? That
he was a gay person, and I just that's something that I be saying to like a lot of people, and it's like, okay, if you didn't know he was gay, or if you didn't know this person was this, or if you didn't know that person was that, do you think you could have a conversation with him? And they're like, well, I don't know. That's the problem.
Right. Yeah. Like you should
say the problem
immediately to that answer. Like
right.
You should be able to say yes.
You need to know how I identify sexually before we can engage as human beings. That's weird.
Like, that's the thing. Right. That's the issue. It's like you were saying, I love acquiring wisdom. I also like to talk. So 9 times out of 10, you're going to get what I learned. It's not that I'm trying to be Mr. Smart Guy. It's simply the fact that like I like to talk, and that's what's in my head.
Right.
That's what I spend my time doing. I don't spend my time watching TV so I can talk to you about what happened on Real Housewives of whatever city. Like, I don't care. number one, and two, like I'm very particular about how and where I spend my time. So
I did.
that's me as a person. That has nothing to do with my identity. That just happens to be like I am who I am, which I guess that's my identity. So there's no label for that. Sorry.
Yeah. And I feel like that's how it should be. So
Yeah.
we don't found out labels are toxic.
Yeah. Like, and they are. And so I want to kind of bring us to a close by circling back to something that yeah, I know, right? Like can we just like I mean I would love to just keep it going, but
It's been an hour already.
yeah, got stuff to do, wife, kids, all that stuff. But you know, you brought up something earlier, Walter, that and when you brought it up, you like switched what you were saying because you were saying like the lack of information, and then you're like, excuse me, the lack of wanting that information, right? And because that's so huge. I have a friend named Chris who constantly talks about how we have information that rivals the library. What do we say, Alexandria, something like that. Like, and he loves to say it. It's like people just don't want to do their research. We did a conversation a couple weeks ago on the lost art of research, talking about how people would much rather just say the things that they hear other people who look and act and do the things that they do saying. And so the like where I want to close this at is with all of this access to information, whether it's like just general knowledge or, you know, something like this where you could get to hear people's experiences, their perspectives, their stories, and you can get information and understanding. Why hasn't any of those things been enough for us to eliminate a lot of these toxic cultures, right? I think that any, I guess, normal person, right, could hear a story about anybody being raped, whether it's a child or a 30-year-old woman who was dressed like what we would say a slut dresses like, or a man or whatever. And like, if you hear that story, like it should just bother you. It should, you know what I mean? Like, and yet we see it all too often where it's like people care more if it's a child versus a grown woman, or if this grown woman was dressed like she didn't want it, or you know, things like that.
Or if it's a man,
right? Or if it's a man, like if it's a man, then like, oh my God, you should have been happy that happened to you, dog. Like, why weren't you happy? You know, like if that was me, you know,
we got you tomorrow, Jordan. We got you tomorrow.
And so, how come all of these things haven't been enough to eliminate all of these toxic cultures? Because as you said, like the information is there.
I think you
You
guys
just asked the expert on this topic. You just asked the expert on his topic.
Yeah, go ahead, Walter.
Let him know.
Yeah, man.
I'm gonna keep it short. You said we got to come to a close. I'm gonna just keep it short.
Oh no! Don't keep it short on account of me. Do your thing.
Three things. Not in their particular order neither. But I think first, one of the issues that a lot of people do is, like I said from the jump, it's the lack of want to. And like I said, you can want all the live long day till you know, blue, yellow, purple in the face. But unless you want to do X, Y, Z, like a lot of people want to lose weight, but they're not really doing the steps that you don't really want to lose that weight. You know, that barrier right there is hard because people got to cross that threshold of that discipline. And there's a difference between, choices and commitment. You know, a commitment is not something you get up and be like, I want to drink, but I told myself I was going to stop drinking. That's a choice you make. A commitment is like, hey, I'm done drinking. And that's it. Alcohol, liqueur, you know, beer, none of that. That's not a part of the equation no more, you know? So with that, I would say the first thing, the issue is that it's 3 C's, but I'm gonna keep it short. I say convenience, is the word I was looking for. Convenience and then comfortability. Like a lot of people want to do or want to say because it sounds, because it feel good, but the comfort of staying where they at is way better. It's in convenience because it's so much easier than getting off their derriere to go do X, Y, Z, you know, to stop eating 6-7 times a day or eat out a week, you know, to stay in that same place. It may be hard for some people, but to them it's comfort. So they don't have to do so much. It's lazy, but it fits them. You know, that box is right where they're comfortable at. The second thing I would like to say is about the information thing, about the want and everything and the access to it. A short story. I had a brother And like if y'all follow me on the gram, I post what I post. So I got a little dude I follow that follow me on there. It's like my little brother, right? And I sent him the picture where it said the Cannabis Act was enacted, I want to say somewhere in the 1800s over there in the UK. And it basically, they enacted a law that said nobody outside of, a certain source could say that they were able to cure cannabis or cure cancer through cannabis, right? And when I sent him the act, and dude got mad at me and responded back verbatim to me. He was like, "Yo, dude, that's why I don't like, people talking XYZ on Instagram or social media, thinking they know everything. That law is enacted over there in the UK." And I was like, "Bro, you looking at the glass half full. You looking at the wrong thing. It's not Instagram. You looking at what the message was. So excuse my friends, but damn what I said, or damn how I said it. Did you get what I said? Take the message. Like Eddie Griffin said, It ain't the issue of who delivered your check. Did you still get your check? And that's, people are looking at the side that you can't gain from it. You only listen to what you want to hear. I had something else to say, but I think, like I said, to keep it simple, man, if the information is out there, but it's like I said, with anything, you have to want to get there, doing it, that's fine. But if you don't want to get to that level, to get to that, I want to get to stage 2, but I got to beat that boss. You got to beat that boss first to get there. And if you want it that bad, you're going to do whatever to get there. And a lot of people fall short of that because they don't want to, that convenience and comfortability. They want to stay in that same place. It sounds good, looks even better on paper, but it's hard to get off your feet, off your bottom, to go and make that happen. So
Yeah. Ooh.
Everybody came up here and was just like, "Yo, we just gonna preach."
Man came by and said, "And all you get understanding," but then dropped it off. Sheesh, man.
Man, I done enjoyed it though. Like
That was dope.
yeah. I don't even know what to say to that. I feel like that was it. If you don't want it, it's not gonna happen.
Yeah.
right.
But I really like what you said about the whole convenience and comfort aspect though, because I think that's a big one, because I feel like a lot of people do want, especially in this day and age where we go back and forth with like this information war. You want to know what you're talking about because you want to beat whoever your opponent is. And so in order to do that, you got to know something. So I feel like we want it, but it's so convenient to just take the first thing we see and just run off of that. Or it's so convenient, instead of actually taking the time, the length to research, to just, well, this sounds right in my head. So it's comfortable for me to just,
That's a scary place to be too, where it's just like, it sounds good,
Right.
And it's so fun. Like, I'm the type of person where I don't like to feel like I've been made to look stupid, because at the end of the day, it's like, can't nobody make me look stupid. I just feel like I look stupid, right? And I remember, like, when I first started like really engaging in social media and speaking out about things, I was doing it with a lot of passion, but with no information. And folks very unlovingly was like, "Yo, you're wrong." And then I would like just a quick Google search, and I'm like, "Oh snap, I was wrong." And then I'm deleting my posts because you're not about to see that I was dumb and just like shared stuff. And it's so crazy that, like, that's one of the things that like really confuses me, is how people are comfortable with having access to all this information, not accessing it, speaking on things that they could have accessed inaccurately, inadequately, and improperly, and then being called out on it like, "Yo, here's a link, here's this, here's that," and then still keep doing the same thing like that. Like, go ahead. I don't. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, I'm sorry.
No, you good.
Well, I just want to touch on something that you both of you said, and it's like, it's something that I learned within myself, talking with one of my bro like Black kids. I never told him that I learned it from him, but it's something that I learned in talking with them, is that one thing I will never do now is that even if I am wrong, I won't delete it. It's because you will learn something that my wrestling coach showed me when I was younger, that you can learn a million things in defeat, but you can only learn one thing from winning, and that's how to win. You know, it's like that you just learn what you want and how to win. But there's so many things you can learn from defeat. So if I was to lose an argument to somebody, I didn't just lose. I didn't lose for real. I learned that one, this might have been, excuse me, this about my argument might have been correct, but this wasn't. This about your argument might have been correct, and this wasn't. You know what I'm saying? So even if you give me in an argument where I was wrong, or you catch me up slipping, I never feel stupid because all that just happened was you educated me. You taught me something that I didn't know. You taught me something that I should have known before that I should have known before because I was speaking on it that I didn't know. You showed me another perspective. And that's all, and that's why I always say like arguments, discussions, they shouldn't be battles, but they should be learning experiences.
Yeah.
Because if you get into it with somebody, just your knowledge against his or hers or whoever it is, and as you guys are going back and forth, you should be learning from each other. You should be learning, wow, I never really thought about it like that. But have you seen this perspective? No, I ain't thought about it like that either. Have you seen this perspective? All in all, when you leave a discussion, an argument, or a debate, you should leave that knowing more or seeing more than you did before you went into it.
Yeah.
That is correct. And I can definitely say that that's what's happening right here for all of us, I would hope. And then for the viewers. Wow. Now I'm kind of nervous about Thursday because I was like, in my mind, I sliced Thursday and I was like, man, it's Tuesday. And now I'm like, oh, Thursday, you gotta show up. Like, ooh, God.
Yeah, but thank y'all, brother, so much for coming on and talking about this. Like I said, we all learned a ton, and that's how conversations should go, and that's our whole vibe at The World Can Wait. We said at the end of every episode, we said in our prayers in most episodes, we want y'all to leave with more information than you came with. I'm definitely leaving tonight with a ton more information I came with. So I appreciate y'all a bunch for that. Closing down, we like to do this thing at the end of our show called Final Thoughts. That's where we give each of us 60 seconds, 1 minute to tell our viewers one thing that you want them to take away from this entire conversation. So we're going to go ahead and get into that. Walter, why don't you start us off with your final thoughts?
Final thoughts. First and foremost, I'd like to say, thank y'all, brothers, for having me on here. I learned a little bit of everything about, each and every last one of y'all. And this was the third thing I had to say earlier, so I'm kind of good. I'm kind of glad I can use it on the wrap up. Y'all was talking about foolishness and wisdom earlier, and that made me think of something that me and my cousin really talked about way back when during the football days. And I would like to say that I think fools are the people who want to speak just to hear themselves talk, and wisdom is only gained by hearing or listening. So you got to take in more than you put out sometimes. And like my brother said, you can talk. Like I learn a lot of things from the people that I don't get along with. I happen to have a close relative of mine that I absolutely do not speak to, but I gained so much from, to this day. And this individual 6 years older than me, but I still take, my losses as learning lessons, and I keep moving, So everything comes as a learning lesson to you. The bad, the good, you just got to take it in. So.
Mm-hmm. More facts. Chris, how about you?
Man, I also want to thank y'all for having me on, but I also want to thank y'all two brothers, man. Y'all have blessed me for real. Like, that was crazy, man. I appreciated y'all's conversation, and I appreciated, like, just sharpening iron with you, for real. As far as wrapping up, I know we started with toxic cultures, and we kind of moved to, like, this identity issue, but I think that's really what it was all about in the first place. That, like, at the end of the day, you really got to do some self-introspection and find out not only who you are right now, but where do you want to go? Everybody wants to be stuck in there right now and just accept that that's who they are. And I think that's why they're not growing. They're just under this impression that, like, yo, let me crystallize myself at this age. And it's like, bro, you chose a terrible age. Like, you should have waited. You should wait. Like he said, if you've done more listening, if you had done more living, like, which is really what it's about. It's like, just live through these experiences, man. Hear these people's stories. They're good stories. They're the greatest story ever told. they have life. You should listen, right? Like it's the greatest story ever told. So there's so much to gain just from literally sitting down with another human being across from you and telling stories.
Jesus.
Yeah. Jade, about you, final thoughts, bro.
Once again, I loved coming on. I had a great time. I want to thank everybody also for giving me more knowledge. I love these kind of talks. I love them. I live for them. They're the best to me. I like to say that for people who are watching, and make sure that you practice your understanding, practice your patience, your understanding, your willingness to learn. You can't if you're closed-minded, like my brother was saying earlier. If you're closed-minded, there's not much you can learn besides what is in your finite space. If you have a closed door, it's hard to get wells of information through a closed door. And just because somebody knows something that you don't know, or somebody can tell you something that you don't understand, or if you learn something from somebody, that is not a bad thing. Knowledge is not a weapon against you, but a weapon for you. So when it comes down to like being in arguments, debates, and everything, if somebody proves you wrong or something, take that. Take it. Don't reflect it. Don't push it away. Take it. Take those weapons, learn from them, and use them in your life.
That's good. That's real good. Because I feel like people in general struggle with that a lot. I can't lose an argument. Nah. I gotta instill that in myself. Let me lose some arguments so I can learn a little bit more.
Yo. All right, I'm gonna go so Dom didn't go close this all out and all that. Man, I think I'm gonna just try to leave us with like staying open, staying flexible. Honestly, like I don't know that I'm a perfectionist. I don't think I am. I don't think some people call me OCD. I don't think I am either. But I do know that what we're doing with these conversations and the things that we're talking about, I really care about, and I really like to have it, and I want to see us grow and expand. And there are a lot of things that I don't like, and I'm gonna be just honest, and I ain't coming for nobody, but there was a lot of technical issues, and like the whole time I'm sitting there like, yo, I'm about to just like not let this person back in, not let that person back in, and messing up my aesthetics and all that other stuff. And like, I'm frustrated. And I was getting so frustrated that I was missing the point. And the point wasn't to have like perfect Wi-Fi connection or anything like that. It was to have a conversation with people who thought about things that maybe I even considered, but not in the same way that they did, right? And in so doing, I learned so much. And yeah, honestly, like, yeah, this has been probably my favorite group of people to have a conversation with so far. We have a lot of dope conversations, have had a lot of dope people, but this was really dope. I'm gonna leave you though, finally, with what Jade just said, which is knowledge isn't a weapon to be used against you. It's a weapon for you to use. And
that's a gem.
That's
a gem.
That's powerful.
Yeah. So this conversation was about toxic cultures, and we covered a lot of toxic cultures, and then it moved into identity, and it moved into wisdom and research and knowledge. And it's cool because I feel like every toxic culture that we covered comes from a lack of knowledge and a lack of wisdom. And so the way that this conversation just moved, it moved beautifully, because that's the truth. Every toxic culture and situation that we talked about comes from somebody not knowing something and not taking the time to go and know something. So the only thing I could really leave all of us and all of our viewers with is know something. Find that information. Take the time to educate yourself. And I feel like we would be amazed at how many things can change in ourselves. And then when we change, how many things around us will actually change as well, because we took the time to learn what it is we're talking about rather than go based on our self and what's comfortable. So yeah, that's what I'm gonna close it out with, is take the time to go out and learn so that you're not adding to the toxicity around us.
That part.
Yeah, that's the show. I'm gonna pray us out real quick and then give some announcements and that's it. Thank you guys so much for this time, for this group of brothers that were able to come in and chop it up for a dope conversation. I hope that everyone that heard has learned something new. I can't see how anybody didn't learn something new, but we're thankful for the opportunity to have this conversation, the space to have this conversation. In your name we pray. Amen. All right.
Amen.
So that's the show. Again, thank you so much to our guests, All-Star Cast, for coming out and being a part of the conversation. Thank you for all of our viewers that stuck around and hung out with us and watched. I really hope that you guys picked up some knowledge today and can go out and put that into your lives and other lives. We will be back tomorrow. We're going to have a conversation on toxic masculinity in general. Thursday, toxic Christianity. So if the next 2 days are anything close to what we just witnessed, it's going to be an amazing week. So you definitely don't want to miss it. As always, make sure you're following us. Make sure notifications are on so you can know every time that we go live. And with that, we will see you guys tomorrow.